Hello and welcome to the Oriire podcast, the podcast that tells African stories. I'm Ceci.
And I'm Halima, and today we're going to be talking about a Nigerian heroine called Queen Moremi. So Queen Moremi, she liberated the citizens of Ile-Ife from slavery during the pre-colonial African period. And she's the wife of Oromio, who is the son of Oduduwa.
Now, there are many versions of the Oduduwa and the Ile-Ife origin story, let's say. But the one I heard in my Yoruba class was that Oduduwa was the son of Olorun, and he climbed down to earth on his chain with a chicken, some dirt, and I think a palm nut. And then he threw the dirt on the water, and the chicken scratched the dirt, and where the chicken scratched became Ile-Ife. And then he planted the palm nut that grew into a tree with 16 branches symbolizing his 16 sons. So he was the founder and the father of the Yoruba kingdom. And then his grandsons were crowned and spread about to establish individual Yoruba kingdoms. So Queen Moremi is a very popular Nigerian figure, actually, more popular than a lot of our other legends because she's immortalized in a lot of formats and she has quite a story.
Yeah. So she was originally from Ofa, and so basically the story goes like this, at least the most popular version that I kept finding when I was conducting research. Her state rather, that's Ile-Ife, was being occupied by Igbo forest dwellers. And Igbo people that I'm referring to here are not contemporary ethnic group of Igbos in Nigeria.
I always thought it was Igbo like forest, maybe.
Oh, that makes more sense.
That's what I was thinking when I read it as well.
That makes more sense. So her Ile-Ife was being occupied by Igbo people basically, and then she thought of this thing. She went to the river goddess Erimisi, and she basically went to ask how her people can be freed from this dilemma that they were in. And Erimisi told her that, well, I'm going to say the version where she didn't know she had to sacrifice her son. So Erimisi told her that she has to let herself be occupied by the Igbo people, and then her beauty and also the power she got from from Erimisi would help her discover the secrets of the Igbo people and how Ile-Ife people can conquer the Igbo people essentially. So she did that. She got captured, and then she became a slave in the Igbo land. Then because of her beauty, the king liked her, and then I don't know if he got married to her or if they had a relationship, but she was very close to the king. And then the king told her the secret of the Igbo people essentially. So they were human beings who had spiritual powers that led them. Some articles say that they were just wearing masquerade costumes of raffia palms and stuff. While some articles said that they had spiritual powers that give them superhuman powers. So that was interesting to read. So once she got that piece of information, and then the only thing that could conquer the Igbo people was fire. So when she got that piece of information, she went back to Ile-Ife, and then she told her husband, who is the king, Oromio, she told him about this. And then once the Igbo people came in for the next attack, Ile-Ife's people were ready, and then they conquered them with fire essentially, and that was how she liberated her people from that.
So the sad part of the story, the end of it, is that in the version where she did not know who she had to sacrifice, they say that after they won the battle, she went to the river to thank the goddess and to fulfill her pledge. And she thought she was just going to have to give cowries away. Cowries at the time was the currency that was used in Yoruba land. But instead, the goddess said, no, the sacrifice that we want from you is your son, her only child. And she begged, and she was, upset and helpless and tried to bargain, but the goddess insisted. And in sorrow, she eventually agreed and performed the sacrifice of her only child, Olurogbo, I think, to the river goddess. After this, the news reached the people in town and they all came to mourn with her and pledged to be her sons and daughters. And that's why today the people of Ile-Ife are the children of Moremi. There are also versions of the story where they say that her son did not die, but instead, because Olodumare took pity on her, he resurrected him. Well, he resurrected him in a sense because he got to live with the gods in Yoruba land, but I don't think he was brought back to human life.
Yeah. So, and before we continue the conversation, Ceci, I forgot to tell you guys Ekabo. So, Ekabo means welcome in Yoruba. And because we're talking about a Yoruba mythological figure, and then because we're really new to this podcast thing, I just remember that we said we're going to have like mini introductions. So,
Oh,
Ceci, yeah, how was your week? How are you?
I'm good. My week has been a little bit crazy. Well, my week is usually crazy, to be honest, but this week was crazier than most. But this weekend, I'm going to chill. How about you? How was Texas with the storm and everything?
So this week has been extremely busy for me because last week I couldn't do anything because we didn't have power and I felt like I almost died, but it wasn't funny. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but I dead as felt like I was going to die.
I'm
So
just imagining how the Nigerians who like don't have power for days feel about hearing this. She's like, he wanted to die.
it's because it was cold. I mean, it was raining ice. How do you cope with that without power? It was like, when your hands feel like they're falling off and your feet
Hmm.
it wasn't funny. Yeah.
Well,
So yeah, back
well, I
to
mean, sorry. In Yoruba.
yes in Yoruba language. So back to the discussion.
Yes, back to Moremi. There's been some debate about whether Moremi and the story is a myth or it's a legend. Personally, I'm leaning on the side of legend because, legends, they get distorted with time. And there are so many versions of the story. There's a statue of her, and this belief is so strong within the Yoruba people that I think it just has to be a legend that perhaps, people just know different versions of. And anyway that when Africans tell their stories, a lot of it is oral and a lot of it is not really recorded anywhere. So, of course, we're going to forget details, but it doesn't mean that it's not true or it's not exactly what happened. But that's just life. Anyway, what do you think?
I don't think it's I don't know. I don't know how to answer this question honestly. Is it a myth or is it a legend? I just think, like you said, the story has probably been distorted through time. So I don't know. I think I'm just going to say it's a mix of the two. It's a legend and it's a mythical legend. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, so the way it is with a lot of history, actually, that question is impossible to answer. So we're going to leave it open-ended and it's up to you, the listeners, to decide, I guess.
Okay, so let's try to play this game. Or it's not really a game, but in contemporary Nigeria, yeah, how do you think, how Moremi, she got married and then she tried to save her family and whatnot. How do you think, let me say 20th century Nigeria, people born in like 1990s and women born in 1990s, how do you think this story would have gone if Moremi was born in that century rather?
I mean, if it was me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not giving my son up for anybody. Please, all of you should die. Like, that's your business. I understand. I mean, okay, yes, it's a noble sacrifice. I mean, she's the mother of Yoruba land. She saved, the country. She saved people. It's wonderful. But in this day and age, I don't know who can do that.
Yeah. And then this brings me to another thing I stumbled upon. So in contemporary Nigeria, because we're like a very super religious community, society rather, some people apparently, because of where Moremi was originally from is in modern day Kwara State. And some people, because Kwara is like predominantly Muslim, I'm not too sure about this, but I'm from Kwara State and most of the people I know are Muslims. So I'm just like, they're probably Muslims. So yeah. So there've been like occurrences of how people go to burn down Moremi shrine and stuff. I know, right? I'm like, is that us being insensitive, or is does it even, I don't even know, like how can we don't, I don't know, it was just, I know Sense is like so surprised
My
now.
face
But
is
I
shocked.
know, so it just makes me think that, is she really a mythological figure? She might be real for people to, I don't know, because it's like, if you don't believe she's real, why are you stressing yourself to like burn things down, her shrines and stuff? So
I really think it's the worst thing. Like one of the absolute worst things is when in like defense of a religion, let's say, people try and go and erase evidence of any other religion or erase evidence of even their own heritage. So let's say we are no longer like predominantly Nigerians are no longer traditional worshippers. They don't believe in all these things that, was the predominant belief in the time when Nigeria was first founded, when all these tribes were separate. But does that mean that because these new religions have been embraced, we have to completely forget about everything that we know? I think people really learn by being able to reference their collective history. And it's so dumb, let me say, to disconnect yourself from your own heritage. Why would you do that? You want to know your past so that you can know your future anyway. And I know that some people think, okay, you're saying let's be bound by tradition. No, of course not. We move with the times, we evolve. Mm-hmm. It's important for us to evolve, but it's still important for us to record and remember our own history because everybody else does. Like, why would we not want to know where we came from and who our people are? This is part of what makes our culture rich. I find it so tragic. And I know it's not just happening in Nigeria. It's happening in a lot of other countries. In the Middle East, I heard about people burning a lot of religious things, Syria and all that. So now they don't have any references to, they burn museums and things like that. Did you hear about that?
no, that's crazy. It just shows you how like emotionally attached people get to, I don't know, things they strongly believe in. It's, I don't know, want to say is irrational because they kind of, they have a method to it, I guess. Then the next question I want to ask, there's been like secessionist discussion about how Nigeria should divide, how each region rather should have their own state. So would you be excited to be a member of Oduduwa Republic? It's a thing actually. They're called Coalition of Oduduwa Descendants. I don't know how they're going to identify who's like an Oduduwa descendant, but it's actually a thing.
I mean, okay. This is a very it's a minefield, let's say, of a conversation because it's really hard to say, oh yeah, like I'm not going to say no, I don't want to be part of the Oduduwa coalition. I'm not going to say no, like I'm in Nigeria. To be honest, I am a Nigerian, but I probably identify as a lot of other things. Before I identify as like a Lagosian first. I identify as Yoruba and Egun before I identify as Nigerian. But when you say Oduduwa coalition, I mean, I like that, in a way where we're referencing and holding on to the heritage. But I just feel like a lot of Nigeria has become so mixed and interconnected now that there are people from different states that have migrated to other states and they've been living there for years and decades. And that's their home now. So what do you want to do? You want to kick them out? So where should they go? Like at this point, it's
There'll be coalition of Amadioha descendants or something.
And then they will now. So if you've been living in Lagos, if you've been living in Lagos for 30 years, you should now leave Lagos and go and be coalition of this thing
Amadioha,
in another state and abandon your house and your home and everything. I don't know. I don't know if more division is the way. At the same time, I think yes. Is there a point holding Nigeria together by force? No, not really. But at the same time, you can't force people to identify with what they don't identify with or to separate from each other. So it's really just difficult. I can't say yes or no. I don't know what the answer is. Maybe there's no like good answer to that question.
Yeah, I agree. Well, me, I don't know, just out of curiosity, I'll be a member just because I want to know how it feels or what they discuss in that group. I will just join them. Then I don't know. Anyways, next thing, let's talk about Moremi's impact on contemporary pop culture and the entertainment industry, really.
Yes, I know that Moremi is one of the historical figures that there is a lot of representation of in pop culture, especially Nigerian pop culture. I know there are plays about her. I know that there's a statue of her, I believe, in Ile-Ife, which is said to be the fourth biggest statue in Africa or something like that. There's even a
Yeah,
festival.
and the largest in Nigeria.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's even a festival to celebrate her. So I have to say that I'm very happy that not only is this historical figure not forgotten, but the fact that she's a woman and she's so like prominent and celebrated more than some other men, I think it's great. Do you know any other appearances of Moremi in Nigerian pop culture?
I know that there have been a couple of plays about her. So recently, I think 2 years ago or something, there was a stage play where I think the director was Busola Davis. I'm not sure of this name, but there was that. And then in like the early 1900s too, there have been, no, late 1900s rather, there's this play by Femi. The name, his last name is Femi. Okay, Femi Osofiso. So he wrote this play, Moro Todun. And then it was like heavily inspired by Moremi's story. And then there's another play by someone named Ladiko, who also like gives his own retelling of Moremi's story. So those have been really interesting to see.
One thing I've observed is that Queen Moremi, like you said, she was not from Ile-Ife. She
Mhm.
married into Ile-Ife,
Yeah.
but she saved Ile-Ife and treated it like her home and basically rescued all those people. And now you don't have to think about this what is it, federal character? I don't know if that's the right term thing that they say that like a woman who marries into her husband's state, she cannot, contest for political office there and she
Yeah.
got the civil service. No, you have to go back to your own village. When you go back to your own village, they tell you, no, go to your husband's house. That's your house now. So I don't understand how we really digressed. What's the word? Was regressed so much to this point where, if someone at that time could come from another land and make this land better and is a woman, why do we insist that women should not have their own identity and instead should absorb either their husbands or their fathers or whatever?
Yeah, and trust academics to like make this even more intense. So there's this argument saying that Moremi was a service of the state. Apparently, I know, right? The author's argument was that she wasn't really serving herself, or it wasn't like something out of kindness or anything, but because she had to save the state. So, people's goods were getting stolen, people were getting like kidnapped, human trafficking, and then for a state to function, it needs productive people essentially. So it was like Moremi was trying to save the state. So it wasn't more like a service to humanity, it was like a service to the state.
I
I
mean,
know.
if you want to say she was trying to save the state, okay, like, all right, if that is your perspective, that just means she's the leader then. If
She was a member of the ruling class. And she wanted to retain that power.
They should have made her the ruler over the whole place then. If she's the only one that can save the state, because what were the other people doing? They were just sitting there watching until she came and decided to allow herself to be kidnapped. Anyway, in service of the states. Okay.
I know, right? Service of the state. So I think that's about it for the discussion. Oh, I need to add, the internet is a very weird place. When I was researching on this topic, I stumbled on this audio file. I don't know what the person was thinking, but I'm scarred, you guys. I'm scarred.
Wait, what?
I know. I'm like, what was this person thinking? And then she kept, I don't know. It was highly disturbing. I just had to add that you see now, right now, what I'm doing is service to humanity, not service to the states, because I just keep playing that audio in my head. Like, what was she thinking?
Please tell us more about this audio file because I'm so confused right now.
So she was telling a story of Queen Moremi, but I don't think that's Moremi's story because
you need to send me this link. Maybe even I will post it on the podcast.
Then I think what was even more interesting was that I read some Medium articles about the story and everything. It also seemed in some parts she was reading line by line. So it was like stealing someone's content without even giving them credit. And it was just like, what?
Please send me this link so that you, because I don't even know. I'm just laughing
I don't
because
think we should share
Halima
it
sounds
because
so funny, but I don't know what she's talking about.
I don't know. I know it's just about I'll send it to you to listen because I'm like, what is this lady doing? Like, what is this?
Okay.
So I think that's that. Do you have anything else to add?
I just want to add that what I said before, I want to reiterate again that I think it is important for us to remember and record our history. We don't want to be bound by tradition, but we still want to learn from it. So, with that, I will end this podcast episode. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you subscribe so you can get notified about subsequent episodes. The next episode will be 2 weeks after this one is posted. Remember, we post every 2 Fridays. It will be out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and I think anywhere else podcasts get posted.
Esheo, that means thank you in Yoruba. So Esheo, thanks for listening, guys. Bye.